Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alpha Woolen, and I'm your host this evening for Inside Scoop. Did you know that 10.2 million Americans use rental assistance programs in this country? With that many people depending on something so important as it relates to housing, it just makes sense that we do everything that we possibly can to make sure those systems are efficient and to make sure that folks have to encounter as little red tape as possible to get into their homes. So I'm really, really excited this evening to introduce to you Malcolm Westbrook. He is the CEO of Mable Software, and he is going to tell us all about the importance of this software and how it helps folks in the rental assistance on rental assistance programs. So, Malcolm, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Alpha. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to talking more about rental assistance programs and the ways that technology can help streamline the process for Americans in need.
Perfect. So before we get into the software, let's introduce you to our viewers. So where are you from, where did you grow up, and how did your upbringing perhaps, or your education or your professional background kind of lead you to creating this software?
Of course. So upbringing, I am a Virginia kid. I grew up in Virginia, Northern Virginia. Went to Bishop Ireton High School, located off of Duke Street in Alexandria, Virginia. Upon graduating from Bishop Ireton High School, I got my undergraduate degree in political science at Virginia Tech. And once I graduated from Virginia Tech, that's where my transient career went. So I first started off my first job in commercial real estate. I was a research associate at a Fortune 500 company called CoStar Group. Amazing opportunity. They're based out of Richmond, but they just moved their headquarters to Arlington, Virginia, actually. So they may be neighbors to some viewers today. But a lovely opportunity working with CoStar Group. It gave me a lot of good research experience in real estate. And from that position, I actually became a licensed real estate agent in a few states. The states were Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia. This was in the year 2017 when real estate market was pretty hot in those areas, and it was a lot more affordable, I guess you can say. So I worked with a lot of buyers and sellers in a bunch of different areas, veterans, first-time home buyers. And I came to understand how not having the best credit can impact your chances at acquiring the American dream.
And the American dream being owning a home?
Yes, home ownership. For some individuals, it's just renting a property. Whether you're buying a home or renting a home, the focus is mainly just attaining shelter.
Right. And so first, before we get into that, what made you want to study political science?
I've always loved politics, and a lot of my football coaches, since I may have been a little bit argumentative, they let me know that I may have been well suited to be a lawyer, actually. So I was in the political science, the pre-law fraternity at Virginia Tech, PAD. That was a unique experience. We did mock trials and a few other things, and I thought for the longest time before dipping my toes in real estate that law school would be my next stop.
So what were some of the concerns that you saw that made you say, hey, this is a problem and I need to be a part of the solution?
Well, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. In real estate, there are certain hoops that people have to jump through, whether they're renting a place, whether they're buying a place, and it's usually around credit scores that you have to have or, can't have, certain documents that are required for the process for you to get the final approval or the final say, the final nod. And I realized that not everybody has as easy access to the required documentation, or not everybody that's on the maybe processing or administrative side understands those documents to the same degree as well. And with that human error, can sometimes change people's lives, because they might get disqualified from a rental, or they might get disqualified from obtaining a loan, and they actually shouldn't have been.
Really? You're saying, so from the side of someone like filling out the application, or someone processing, or both?
Both.
Wow.
Someone that's submitting the application they may have missed a certain document, or they might have not provided a certain document, and the person that's the administrator processing that file, their job is to process that file. And sometimes when you're looking to process a file, you may disqualify it without giving any information on how to help that person get to the finish line. You know, you end up closing the door on a lot of people versus figuring out ways to open it up. And I think that's what my focus has always been, is finding ways to help people and being solution driven versus taking the easy route.
Sure. So you found that when it comes to one barrier of housing, one barrier to housing, whether it's renting or buying, is the human process, the human factor, as far as someone just maybe making the choice for a number of reasons. It could be they have a pile a mile high
Yes.
to do, or just lack of information. You found that that simple thing could be a barrier to housing.
That is correct, yeah. At the end of the day, everyone has a job that they need to do, and they're graded on that job. And if you're taking maybe longer than other coworkers in your space to process files or handle files because you want to help these people get to the finish line, that's actually going to negatively impact you from a performance standpoint. So I find that in real estate, time, value, and money tends to be the very thing that ends up almost eliminating a lot of individuals from accessing their basic human right, which is shelter.
Wow. So enter Mable. So how did you come up with the concept, and tell us what MABLE stands for?
Of course. So Mable actually stands for Making a Better Living Experience. That's the focus of our software, is that we want to make a better living experience for not only the individuals that are looking to receive rental assistance, but we also want to make a better living experience for those staff members that are in charge or have to process all these mountains of applications or mountains of paperwork. If you can make the experience better for both sides of the equation, then it'll be a better experience for everyone involved.
And so did you create it by yourself? Did you have
Yes.
a team of people? By yourself?
No, great question. So
Okay.
I actually did not create this by myself. I have two other amazing co-founders, both Virginia Tech graduates like myself. And I also am fortunate to be supported by my family, obviously, amazing friends, and my University of Virginia Tech, multiple different departments in the real estate program, as well as, just in the technology space with our data science and computer science programs. They've been really supportive in this mission that we're embarking on. So I'm just grateful to have that type of support around me.
And what specifically does Mable do? What service does it provide?
Yeah, so we're looking to streamline federal rental assistance programs using artificial intelligence and automation. So once again, we've identified that there's a lot of different paperwork involved with different federal programs because there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of compliance. So at Mable, we are looking to essentially supercharge your administrative staff and give them the technology that helps them maybe sift through these mountains of paperwork and find that critical information or that critical point that allows you to maybe process a file in the matter of seconds versus the days or weeks that it would normally take. I mean, ultimately, we want to help people not get evicted. We want people to not face homeless, not be homeless. So, speed is the name of the game, and we really think that artificial intelligence and automation can really help speed up things and make it so that there's faster service delivery.
As much of a problem as affordable housing is, especially in Fairfax County and probably all over Northern Virginia, as much of a problem as affordable housing is, and making sure people don't become unhoused, you would think that this type of application or this type of service was already available.
Yes.
Are there similar applications available, and if so, what makes Mable different?
No, of course. So there are other software providers in the space that do some amazing things. They may be more rental assistance payment tracking focused. Some may be more focused around tenant screening. The way that Mable tries to be different is that we are pretty much building a product at a very unique time where it's easier to build technology and actually make it quite powerful, and we aren't held by the constraints maybe of that previous companies may be held from an infrastructure standpoint. So That's one of the things that I can say with Mable that we're trying to do differently, is that any type of powerful technology, we're looking for ways to do things for people, not ways to say, no, we can't do that.
Okay, and so the service you provide is automation for like county and city employees, or residents, or who are the users that you're trying to focus on?
Great question. So the users for our platform, we're actually going to be focused on both sides of the equation. So we're focused on housing authorities that are managing or administering the programs. We're also focused on the applicants or the residents that are applying for federal rental assistance, or the ones that are receiving federal rental assistance. So we're a platform that focuses on all the users that are involved in the process.
Is there, I'm hoping that there's some level of user friendliness. Is it super easy? Is it accessible? I mean, is it, how user friendly is it?
Of course, user design and user experience are things that me and my other co-founders were extremely focused on. So what I can say is that we've actually been able to try out other application systems, and we're really focused on allowing people to be able to submit applications from different types of mobile devices, so we're all mobile device friendly. The platform is also bilingual, so we can translate it to different languages depending on what the applicant speaks as their primary language. And yes, we're just looking for any type of way that we can make the experience easier. So a lot of applications may have 30 to 40 questions. We figure out ways to combine those questions to make them only 15 to 20 questions long, but still collect the same data.
So, and that actually goes to my next question about compliance and working with housing authorities. What were your processes to make sure that you're offering a service or this application that still is in compliance with the different, entities that you're going to be working with?
No, great question. So since this involves federal dollars, compliance is very top of mind for a lot of the organizations that are administering these programs, such as housing authorities, housing commissions, community development agencies, city governments perhaps. So there's a heavy compliance piece to this. I was lucky and fortunate as a founder to receive some amazing insight from a 30-year professional down in Tampa, Florida that I talked to. She actually told me that I should focus on architecting and building a product, thinking about compliance first, and then figuring out ways to streamline the compliance from there.
Wow. When we come back, I want to continue in that vein.
Okay. Please
make sure you don't go anywhere as we continue our conversation with Malcolm Westbrook, the CEO of Mable Software.
Your time is gonna come. Your time is gonna come. It's up to you to reach out to be that friend who comes along. Your day is gonna come.
When you make a friend, you make a difference.
Your day is gonna come.
Friendship. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Good one, son.
Last summer, my new dad took me on vacation. First, we went deep sea fishing.
Wow! I'm so proud of you, son.
And then we went on Thunder Shark. That was awesome! Let's go again. 3 times. I gotta say, it was pretty cool.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
What's it feel like when a woman's having a heart attack? Chest pain, like there's a ton of weight on your chest. Severe shortness of breath. Unexplained nausea. Cold sweats. There's an unusual tiredness and fatigue. There's unfamiliar dizziness or lightheadedness. Unusual pain in your back, neck, jaw, one or both arms, even your upper stomach are signs you're having a heart attack. Don't make excuses. Make the call to 911 immediately. Learn more at womenshealth.gov/heartattack.
Operation Wonder Park is a go!
There's nothing more powerful than imagination.
Honey, have you seen my cell phone?
But don't just imagine.
My park came to life?
Ooh, a plot twist.
Use STEM to build, create,
She did it.
and change the world.
Who's with me?
I'm more of a 2 feet on the ground kind of guy. gonna hurt tomorrow.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Thank you so much for coming back and joining us on Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Alpha Woolen, as we continue our conversation with the CEO of Mable Software, Malcolm Westbrook. So Malcolm, when we left off, you were talking about compliance. Yes. And you were saying how there's some rental assistance applications that could be about 40 questions long, but you've managed with this wonderful software to kind of condense that information. And so my next question was, how do you make sure you're still in compliance? And you were talking about that. So let's continue with that topic.
Of course. No, great question. So once again, I was very fortunate, and one of my first interviews in the space with an affordable housing veteran, I guess you can call her, down in Tampa, Florida. She's worked in the space for about 30 years, and I let her know last summer that I actually wanted to embark on this journey and provide technology to the space. And her piece of advice was, if you can architect a solution, if you can build a product for rental assistance focused, organizations, if you can build it from a place of compliance and still have it be fast, then I think you'll build something that a lot of people find value in. So that's been top of mind for me and my team. We have studied and looked very deeply into housing authorities' administrative plans across the nation. We've looked at federal HUD guidelines and federal processes, and we've essentially codified that into our technology and into our architecture so that we can ensure it's compliant. And I take compliance very seriously as a real estate professional in a multitude of different states. It's always top of mind, and I look at the processes very similarly.
Do you think that policymakers at all can help bolster this, can help support this? Like, from a policy perspective, what are the needs of Mable Software or your vision?
Yeah, great question. I do see in the space that there sometimes is a bit of disconnect between program administrators, such as housing authorities, and the policymakers or the government perhaps that's even funding the programs. I see that there could be a little bit of a disconnect between the two, in that you have to administer the program in a certain manner from a compliance standpoint. But if you do it in that manner, it's actually maybe going to be quite slow. It could be inefficient. So I see technology as the equalizer that allows both groups to actually accomplish and have occur what they need to occur. From the federal government, they can ensure that compliance occurs, but for program administrators, it can help them have faster service delivery at lower costs, which are the things that they're focused on.
Yes, and I think something like this is so important, especially for very vulnerable citizens within our community. So how does Mable affect those who are vulnerable within our communities, those facing housing instability?
Definitely. So for some of these programs, they're entirely paper-based, and when a program can be entirely paper-based, then that paperwork essentially has to be received in the mail, which takes time, and then someone has to take it out of a mailbox, which takes time, and then you have to manually review it and maybe scan it and upload it into a system. So if you're able to utilize technology in these instances with some of our most vulnerable populations, you can actually cut down on the time to deliver service, maybe by 50%, 75%, even more. Another manner that we're able to help out more vulnerable populations is our assisted waitlist management system and tool that we utilize. Waitlist management is a pretty big thing for a lot of housing authorities because there are way more people that have to go on the wait list because there's not enough supply.
Wow.
So since there are so many people on the waiting list, and these organizations have to still manage these lists in a very compliant manner and select from them in a compliant manner, it actually creates somewhat of an operational bottleneck because you have to allocate just as many resources to your future clients that you may never work with, as well as your current clients or residents that you have that you want to keep compliant so that they can remain receiving assistance.
And so this, it seems like that would impact, like this whole bottleneck that you just mentioned could impact someone receiving housing.
Yes.
There's a young lady, excuse me, there's a young lady in Washington, D.C. She's actually running for an elected seat. And she mentioned how she and her mom were on public assistance when she was younger. She said that her mom, when she was around 8 years old, her mom applied and her mom was placed on a wait list. When she turned 18, her mom got a phone call from the public housing department and said, we have a space for you now. 10 years. That is ridiculous to think that someone has to wait 10 years for housing.
Yes.
So you would think that doors would be flying open for this software that you have, but are there any challenges that your company or that you faced in implementing this?
Yes, there's always risk, and I wouldn't be a realistic person if I didn't understand the risk involved when we're trying to introduce a new technology into the space. But as long as we continue doing our research, talking to different individuals in the space, doing our homework to better understand the problems, the actual bottlenecks in the process, and I think we may be very well suited as a technology provider to find people that are looking to utilize advanced technologies to streamline, their workflows. I firmly believe that there's always a client out there that can utilize what you're putting forth if it truly has value, and people will find ways to work with you if your heart and if your mind is in the right place.
So you're saying some of the challenges that you faced is just lack of reception?
I wouldn't say lack of reception. We're just a newer company.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a newer startup. We just incorporated this year in February, actually. Okay. We just finished early development of our initial prototype, which we're allowing housing authorities and different housing groups to begin testing if they're open to it. So it's just more of a, companies don't actually have a lot of time in these housing authorities. They have very little bandwidth as is. So to expect them to take time out of their day to try out a new product, there's actually not enough time in the day for them to really even do their work. So that's one of the things that I would say that we're struggling with right now, but we're addressing it full head on and full head of steam, and I would say that's something that we're working through pretty well.
What are some of the lessons learned for?
There's a lot of lessons, honestly.
Yeah.
There's too many lessons. As a startup, the main thing that I come to find is that it's the weirdest advice, but you almost have to fail fast. A startup is a series of hypotheses that you have to test and validate, and the best way to test and validate those hypotheses is to introduce your concept and your company out to the world, maybe through Inside Scoop and other mediums. So to introduce your concept to the world and other experienced operators and professionals, hear their advice, hear what they think, and then from there just try to make what you're doing even better.
It sounds like it's such an important concept, an important function, an important service, and you've really spent a lot of time talking to people and talking to housing authorities to perfect this service that you want to offer. Yes. Do you have a primary ethos or mission? What is your overall mission?
Yes. Our overall mission would be that Mable as a company, we want people to focus on people and not paperwork. Oftentimes in very paper-driven industries that are fueled by different administrative processes, as an employee and as a client, you can often become lost in the paperwork. As a client, you can become lost in the processes and the different requests regarding paperwork. And as an administrator, you can get lost in your SOPs and the things that you should be doing regarding your work and the different documents and how you should be looking at them. So as a technology company, we want to focus on the paperwork so that people can focus on people, because most people have gotten into and come into affordable housing and these rental assistance programs because they want to help people.
Right.
And we can't continue to let paperwork be a barrier to that.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that professionally you were you're a real estate agent.
Yes.
So that informed your perspective as far as the need for this? Was there a particular situation that you're just like, oh my gosh, if only this would have happened, this person would have received this home?
Great question, and I would say I've seen people impacted by paperwork at every technology company in the real estate space that I've worked at. One of the ways that I've been able to be a top performer at these companies is that I actually have been fortunate to close more transactions or deals than others, because I look at every opportunity as an opportunity that can be closed and a solution can be found. So I've always been solution driven in my roles, and it's allowed me to transact at a way higher volume than others. So yes, I would say all of my experiences in real estate have let me see the holes in the process, or how human error can change someone's livelihood, and I just cannot allow that to continue.
So we can't talk about data without talking about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
What role does AI play, if any, in Mable software?
Oh, AI is, I would say, the backbone of our product. Since we talk about speed a lot and how we want to provide speed and quicker service delivery, so our usage of AI is specifically around documentation and paperwork. The main thing that we're currently doing now is, one thing is that we're able to extract applicant level data off of their application forms that may be mailed in. We're able to get that information quickly off of any paper and quickly input it into a system for management. So something that may have normally taken about a week, 2 weeks to do from start to finish, we're now able to do that in a matter of seconds. Another thing that housing authorities and different housing groups has let us know is that the process to validate income documents and identification documents, such as birth certificates, identification cards, when they expire, that's a strenuous process in and of itself. So we're actually able to read identification and income documents using AI, extract the information off of those documents, and input it into a system for housing authorities to quickly be able to view, and we can pre-screen that information as well, so we can sort it for them. So anything that they're looking to do, we want to speed it up for them.
And so how do you maintain data security?
Yeah, great question, great question. So we're a fully encrypted platform. We're very focused on different security protocols. So a lot of the technology systems that we're currently utilizing, they're gonna use something that's called a SOC 2 framework. So yes, we're very focused on security. It's top of mind. We're working with a lot of PII, personally identifiable information. So we wanna make sure that that's protected for everyone that's trusting our system to manage their information.
So if you have someone what if someone doesn't have access to, they can't do the paperwork, and they don't have access to a laptop or a smartphone, or just what would be considered underprivileged? I think that's really important that we pay attention, that we ask these questions. Technology is a necessary tool to move us into the future, but we have to make sure that everyone within our population can access it. So when we get back, I'm going to have you answer that question for our audience. So please come back for our next segment of Inside Scoop.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Hi, I'm Josh Temple. You might have seen me on TV where I help folks turn their houses into dream homes. But forget construction. Parenting is the toughest job there is. So when you need help or advice, turn to the parenting experts at Boys Town.
I was afraid of that.
Well, guess it's time to get you fixed.
Your pets will start fooling around sooner than you think.
Go on, get out of here!
Accidental litters lead to millions killed in shelters each year. Help prevent more. Fix at month 4.
Food. It nourishes, brings us together, and adds flavor to life. That's why it's important to wash hands, surfaces, and fresh produce. Keep raw meat, poultry, and seafood separate from ready-to-eat foods like fruits and vegetables. and cook to proper temperatures using a food thermometer. Enjoy and refrigerate leftovers within 2 hours. For more tips on safely preparing foods, visit homefoodsafety.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Thank you so much for coming back and joining us here on Inside Scoop. I'm Alpha Woolen, your host for tonight's show, and we have with us Malcolm Westbrook, who's the CEO of Mable Software, the creator of this, excuse me, very important platform for rental assistance. It's not only for applicants, but it's also for organizations and counties and cities that want to provide this very important service. As we mentioned at the top of the show, that 10.2 million Americans are using rental assistance. So when we left off, we were talking about the importance of access to this very important software. If someone doesn't have, access to pen and paper, or maybe they don't have access to a laptop, how do we make sure that these underprivileged, quote unquote, populations have access?
Oh, great question. So Mable as a company, we're definitely aware that there are digital inequalities in the United States and the world, honestly. And the way that we've looked to combat that and to provide, more accessible programs would be for the individuals that don't have access to computers or mobile devices. They're likely gonna be required to submit their information via paper forms and paper applications. So that's where the artificial intelligence comes into play, because if we're able to help process those paper applications in the same time that digital applications can be processed, then we're able to provide quicker service to those individuals. And we can make it so that just because they're submitting a paper application, there's no reason why their process and their journey has to be any more strenuous or slow than someone that's submitting an online application. So that's one way that we're looking to do things a little bit differently. And for the individuals that they're having trouble, getting to a housing authority to actually complete this stuff, we do focus on our platform being mobile friendly on all devices. So if you have an Android, iPhone, most Americans and a lot of people across the world do have access to different cellular devices. So our platform is extremely mobile friendly. And in other instances, if English isn't your first language, just to bring it back top of mind, we do provide, language translations in our platform as well. So if there's any ways that I've run into, different barriers as a real estate professional in my many different careers and journeys, I like to think about the ways that technology can alleviate those stresses, and technology can be the great equalizer.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming that you also mentioned in the previous segment that AI was a huge help with this. What other strides or breakthroughs within your application did you achieve through artificial intelligence?
No, great question. So first off, these breakthroughs definitely have to be attributed to my co-founders. They're both way more technically inclined than me, and they're amazing. They work day and night in order to get our product working amazingly. And one of our biggest breakthroughs regarding the artificial intelligence is actually being able to extract data from different paper forms or documents or identification documents, to be able to extract that information, but with a high confidence score. So we've worked and we've trained our own AI. We've custom trained AI models, and so that we can produce a very high confidence score. Say you were to submit an application and it would have your name, Alpha Woolen. We can extract that from an application form with 99.7% confidence. So that's been one of the biggest breakthroughs, is pulling that information off of these forms in a error-free manner, like a high-performing staff member would likely do it, except that we want to do it at scale, way faster, for a lower cost.
So what do you say to people who are concerned, oh my gosh, here's AI taking jobs away from human beings? What do you say to them?
I would say that's not Mable's mission at all. Mable looks at AI as being more assistive than anything. We look at technology and artificial intelligence as being able to assist with the review process, assist with the processing process. So that's our take, that's our stance on AI, is that the administrative staffs at a lot of housing authorities and a lot of housing organizations, it might be one staff member to a few hundred different, a few hundred residents or a few hundred applicants. That person probably already has superpowers, but we want to give them a little bit more superpowers so that they can do their job a little easier. It's not necessarily that we're helping them do it better, because they could be superhumans already, but we want to help them at least be able to do that job a little easier and with a little bit less stress.
How long have you been developing this software? It seems like you've been working at it for decades.
So personally, I would say through experience, we've been developing it for a decade, but actually working on the company now, it's been about 10 months or so. So
wow.
Yes, I was working in a financial technology company. Great opportunity, great company, by the way, doing a very amazing thing with equity in the United States. But I decided, upon working with different people at that company and seeing the disqualification process, seeing how some people may have not made it to the finish line if they weren't working with me, it changed my perspective on things, and it made me start thinking about all the people that aren't reaching their goals because of the processes and the technology and that's being utilized. So that's honestly our take on it is, we've been working at this for about 10 months. We recently incorporated the business in Arlington, Virginia. So we're a Northern Virginia-based business now. We have our federal SAM.gov registration done. So in the next few months, we plan on being a lot more vocal about the things that we're working on and more public about it as well.
And what's your overall vision for, do you want every state or every county, every city to have access to the software? What's your vision?
Yeah, our vision is for it to actually be a federally mandated product if possible, and that could be something that is very overzealous possibly, but I've heard that you have to always shoot for the stars, and if you fall, you'll land on the moon. So yes, we would like to push this product federally, to all housing authorities that are going to be administering federal dollars. It would only makes sense given that the federal compliance part of this and the regulatory, steps in this are all the same for the most part.
Sure. So what's next? What's next in your development? What's next for Mable?
Yeah, so we've been working and we have a lot of different collaborations and partnerships in motion right now. As I mentioned, we've worked to establish a partnership with Virginia Tech and their data and artificial intelligence center that will be able to give us, a very robust pipeline of computer science talent and, developers and software engineers to help us make this product as good as we want it to be. We've also, worked with and collaborated and connected with the Virginia Tech Virginia Housing Research Center. They work directly in collaboration with different public housing authorities. So, we've established different connections with different people in the space to make sure that we're able to truly deliver on the things that we're talking about. Also been able to connect with the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Organizations.
Wow.
Was able to be invited and attend their national conference in Washington this past April. At that conference, I was able to conduct maybe 25 to 30 interviews within a short, 2-day period, connect with a lot of amazing individuals, and let some people there know what we're working on as well. So essentially, the product is almost at the point now where we're gonna openly launch it, I would say, in the coming weeks. We're still in the part where we're interviewing different housing authorities just to make sure that we're really solving something that is desired. And from there, we just plan to begin shouting more about Mable from the mountaintops so that any people out here that are, in need of an advanced technology-focused solution, workflow automation solution, they can reach out to us and we'll be sure to help them out.
So when you're talking to these housing authorities, are you finding that their concerns are pretty much the same? Like red tape or compliance or lack of efficiency?
For the most part, yes. I would say that the pain points across most housing authorities, they are very, 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 very similar. Now, the budgets of housing authorities, those vary. The staffs of housing authorities, those vary. But the situations that they often find themselves trying to navigate seem to be very similar. And honestly, I feel for them because they're all saying that they have similar issues, and it's almost as if no one has listened to them. And hopefully we can be the company that comes into the space and listens to them and provides them with what they need.
Do you find that their needs or perhaps access to resources, do you find that it's different based upon where within the U.S. These housing authorities are located?
I would agree with that. Different sectors of the United States may be more or less willing to embrace technological advances or potentially even artificial intelligence. So I do find that different housing authorities may embrace technology in a certain manner right now. But one thing I can say is regardless of where the housing authority is located, everyone's always receptive to help. So we don't like to think of technology as being more receptive in one area or another. I think it more depends on the person that was delivering it.
Wow. And that is so important because, again, just going back to what we said at the beginning of the show, some of our most vulnerable citizens are going to be the ones affected by possibly not receiving housing. So you would think that the powers that be, those that are in the position to welcome this type of software, would be very receptive. But you find that they're kind of resistant to this artificial intelligence, like technological aspect of it.
Yes, to a degree, yes. HUD actually just released Housing and Urban Development. They just recently released ethical AI kind of guidelines and guidelines for incorporating AI. I consider our company lucky because it may be that I possibly helped write the guidelines because it seems that we were already kind of implementing everything that HUD talked about in our software, so we didn't actually have to make any changes. But yeah, HUD's main focus around the usage of artificial intelligence is just so people aren't getting filtered out by certain factors or certain data points that are specific to certain groups of people. Specifically, say certain groups of people may be marginalized or they typically have a history of lower credit scores. And if credit score may be the reason why you're eliminating people out of a program, then you could end up excluding a very specific type of people. AI can help you do that type of screening very, very fast, but if you're not aware of the implications of utilizing the AI, then you can't put the proper guardrails into place.
Wow.
So we're all about putting guardrails in place when we're utilizing AI and making sure that our AI usage is more about finding solutions and letting people know what they're missing in their applications, sending automatic emails and updates and things. We want to figure out the best application of it to get people to the finish line. We're not looking to utilize it to screen people out.
Sure. I think that's such an important point to make sure that people understand that AI can be used to make sure that our functions and our processes are inclusive versus exclusive, because that's been a point of conversation as well. Please make sure you come back and join us as we continue and finalize our conversation with Malcolm Westbrook.
Nice going, Spencer! I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We?
Go to the door, ask for the ball back. Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtleback.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go. See you, dude. See ya. You got me in your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are.
Keep smiling, keep shining.
Hi. Tell him it was an accident. And we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Wanted some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about rooftop life. Nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Thank you so much for joining us on our final segment here on Inside Scoop with the CEO of Mable Software, Malcolm Westbrook. So we've talked about compliance, and we've talked about the importance of rental assistance, and we've talked about AI. Before we left, we were talking about, when it comes to AI, the concern that it can be used to exclude certain populations when it comes to access to really important services and funding and financing. But you were saying that through Mable Software, that is a function that you're able to actually reverse to make sure that it is inclusive. So talk more about that.
Yeah, so we're using just AI and automation to be more connective in the current process. That's the best way that I'd probably be able to sum it up, is that there's a lot of back and forth communication between housing groups, housing authorities, and the clients that they serve, the vulnerable populations. There's a lot of back and forth communication regarding different documentation requests, whether or not that documentation is valid given the compliance part of it. They might require you to upload a pay stub that's been produced within a 30 or 45-day period. If you upload one that was produced in a 60-day period, then you now need to upload another. And if you don't upload another, then you can end up being disqualified from the process. So one of the ways that Mable tries to help streamline this back and forth is that we're able to utilize our system and the way that our system is built to automatically be able to tell if a document has been uploaded in our system or not, and if that document is the right type of document. If it is, then the condition can be satisfied and the person can continue moving through the process. If it's not the right type of document, then we'll actually conduct that automatic outreach every single day, prompting them, or every few days, prompting them to actually upload the required documentation. So now the housing authority doesn't have to micromanage these people, but still know that they're having someone advocate and look out for them and request the proper documentation, and the housing authority can then focus on the individuals that are uploading what's needed. And then for the people that upload what's needed, our AI is actually pulling the information off of those documents or those forms and putting it in our system and actually pushing them through the process as well so they can receive faster service. So our AI is really assistive in as many parts of the process as possible, and we're open to learning about different ways that it can be more assistive.
That's great. It seems like it's allowing employees within the housing authority space to focus on people versus processes.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the largest complaints or observations that people have when it comes to interacting with government agencies. I know that all of my friends, we can talk about just the horrible experience we have at DMV.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like, they don't care about the person. They just want to get through the process.
Yes.
So it's refreshing to hear that you're creating an application software that enables our government employees to focus on people versus process.
Yes. And even when it comes to another process such as recertifications, I know that's top of mind for a lot of housing authorities, is how do we recertify the people that were eligible last year and got into our program? How do we make sure that they're still eligible to be recertified and remain in our program? So Able, once again, Mable, the way that we built our product is that we're going to be looking at data points, and our system reacts to different data points. So housing authorities and different housing groups, they know when files are set to expire or when clients' information is set to expire. One way that we take that a step further is that we're going to automatically kick out requests or updates based on when documents are expiring and when files are set to recertify. So if you send a multitude of different updates to an individual, slowly prompting them to complete certain steps, they'll be able to do it if you give them enough time to satisfy it in the normal constraints of their day when they're probably working a 9 to 5, possibly taking public transit to a job an hour away from them, and then coming home, cooking for their kids. It's a tight day, you know. A lot of Americans, we understand how tight of a day it is, especially if you factor in the Northern Virginia traffic. So yeah, time is limited, and we're just looking for ways to use technology to bridge the gap and connect people and help them reach the finish line.
And so when you say making sure that someone is able to recertify, is that like making sure, at what level, like making sure their sockets work, or at that level, or
so there's
income?
Yeah, it would be more on a program eligibility standpoint.
Okay.
So your income would need to be not over a certain threshold, and your income would have to be re-verified. Maybe the members in your household would need to be, you know, recertified or re-verified, you know. And you are correct, a property may need to be re-verified or recertified as well if it's maybe in a housing choice voucher program possibly. So there are a lot of different ways that there are recertifications or revalidations, and they're typically date driven. So we've codified that into our software to react to those dates and request the necessary things to keep people in compliance.
Perfect. How are you all able to keep up with, I mean, because if you're going to be using data and technology, which changes, it seems like every 10 minutes, how are you keeping up with that?
No, great question. So I'm very big on doing the hard things now to make the work easier later. And one mechanism that we put into play is actually we've codified fail safes into our software so that if data comes in incorrectly, it can actually be corrected. So, you know, individuals might spell street incorrectly, they could spell drive incorrectly, they could spell the state of Virginia incorrectly. Once again, we're looking for ways to utilize AI, not to screen them out because of their error, but to utilize AI, fix the error, and keep them moving through the process.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yes, we've codified in fail-safes into our technology so that data can be manipulated, managed, and processed way more efficiently without human intervention, which protects the data as well.
Yes. I think, again, I can't get over how important this is, especially in Fairfax County. It is in Fairfax County, the city of Alexandria, and Washington, D.C., as you mentioned, the entire DMV area, that affordable housing and making sure that people are housed and not so easily unhoused is so important. If someone wants to learn more about Mable software, where do they go? How can they find out more?
Yeah, so they can go to our landing page, which will be www.mablesoftware.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. It'd be linkedin.com/Malcolm Westbrook. So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find our website, mablesoftware.com. That's going to have initial information about us. You'll be able to click a button which gives you free access, but in order to get free access to our platform and try it out, you would need to schedule a call with us so that we can actually make sure that it's configured in the way that you need it to be configured. But we are at the point that we're offering free, you know, test trials of our products so that we can enhance it and make it as good as possible. And in the process of offering those free test trials, there could possibly be some pro bono work in there also, so you never know.
So your ideal audience are housing authorities, affordable housing programs, like who do you want to contact you?
Yeah, so our ideal clients and our ideal sector would definitely be housing authorities first and foremost. We've, in our research, understood that housing authorities, they don't all go under the term housing authorities.
Yes.
Some housing authorities might be actual housing authorities, others might be named redevelopment housing authorities, others might be housing commissions. So if the word housing is in their name, they're likely our client because they either administer, you know, affordable housing specific programs or federal rental assistance programs. And if they're administering, you know, programs to help people, you know, essentially find stable housing and, you know, access stable, affordable housing, then we'd like to help them streamline that service delivery.
Okay. So with a minute and a half left, is there one initiative that you think or one idea or one project that you think sums up the work of Mable Software?
One initiative, one project, one
mission or statement, or what do you want people to remember about Mable Software?
I want people to remember Mable as being a solution-driven company that is solely here to help you accomplish your dreams and the things that you want to be able to do. That's the only reason that, you know, we started up this organization, is that we thought we identified a need, and we want to do everything we can to help serve those that are in need of that type of solution. So that's the best thing that I can say about Mable, is that we're a solution-driven organization that will do everything in our power to serve our clients and make sure that we're making the experience for everyone as streamlined as possible, because technology is so powerful right now, and if a technology provider isn't doing the most that they can, they probably shouldn't do anything, maybe.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on Inside Scoop and sharing information about Mable Software. People can find out more at mablesoftware.com. Now we're going to move to one of my favorite parts of the show. That's where I get to ask you some interesting questions about who you are, Mr. Malcolm Westbrook, and give our audience a glimpse into, you've told us all about Mable Software and the application. Now we want to know who you are. So these are some fun questions. So, okay, first one, Apple or Android?
Apple.
Okay, you said that. You're so sure. Okay, I love it. Okay, shopping in store or shopping online?
Online. I like talking, but I do have social anxiety probably, so I hate shopping like in person.
Excuse me, okay. Would you prefer to star in a box office smash or write a best-selling book?
I would want to write a book.
What would it be about?
I think it'd be like a rom-com or something, but it'd be kind of funny. Yeah, a lot of people are into rom-coms now.
Yeah.
And everyone can read them. A lot of different audiences can read them. So I'd probably want to write something like that.
Write a rom-com book. Okay, very nice. Next question. Would you rather your significant other read all of your email or read all of your text messages?
I would prefer, well, both would take a pretty long time, because I do have a habit of letting there be unread messages sometimes, depending on if it's spam or something. So I probably want her to read my text messages because it'd be quicker.
Brave soul. I was not expecting that answer.
All my texts are business oriented, so she would just be looking at conversations with housing authorities or things about Mable or work.
Good. Hey, good stuff. I'll take it. I will take it. Okay, last question. In your opinion, since you are in housing and you've been a real estate agent and so you know about housing, what is the most important room in the home?
Most important room in the home?
In a family home.
Would be the kitchen. I think that brings people together through food. Food is one of the biggest things that brings people together, so definitely kitchen.
Totally agree with you. Thank you so much for joining us for Inside Scoop, our conversation with Malcolm Westbrook. Have a great evening.